What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And this is a review of The Arrival. It's a title that's coming to VOD, I believe, on September 17th. I think was the date I was given. I got this from a screener copy, as I'm a critic recognized by a couple guilds, and I get screener films. It's an independent film. And again, with some of these, I like to try to approach the topic of audio description with an open mind, because I like to sort of have conversations about it instead of just attack people for not using it, because I'm not always aware of how many filmmakers know about audio description. I'm also not really sure how many PR teams know about audio description, because I've definitely been in a situation before where I said, yes, I would love to screen the film, and if you could send me the audio description track, if it's available, that would be great. And then I didn't get it. And then I reviewed the film, and I found out there was an audio description track for that film. Who knows? We'll see. But this film is directed by Alyssa Bennett, and also written by somebody with the last name of Bennett's. So I'm Bennett, so I'm going to call this like the Bennett's film, because I feel like that can't be like a coincidence of last name. And this feels like sort of like the Daniels. I don't know what their connection is, but I'm sure they know each other before this film. So yeah. This film does not have, or I was not provided an audio description track for the film, so there's only just so much I can really do with this. But again, it's an independent film. It feels like an independent film. It feels like it has a bunch of actors that I have never heard of or seen before, and may never see again. And I mean, there's just so many things here that I don't know. I would feel like a terrible person just yelling at this film. There's no reason. We could talk about it. Like, is it good? What's it about? You know, I can talk about things like that. Should you watch it? You know, if you're sighted, all those kind of things. But if you're blind, let's start off by saying I got my purple hat on backwards. It's a baseball cap, black sunglasses, and I'm wearing a Falcon and Winter Soldier t-shirt, which has absolutely nothing to do with The Arrival, which is a title that's been used multiple times. So if you're trying to find it on IMDb, it's The Arrival 2023. Even though this is 2024, it's 2023. It's that version. If you're trying, this is not the Charlie Sheen version. This is not Denis Villeneuve's Arrival. This is the 2023 The Arrival. It takes place in a, I'm going to say like bar / restaurant / lounge place. And lots of conversations are had. From what I could tell, I felt like there was either jumping around between like either different rooms where other people couldn't hear each other, or a little bit of a time jump, because it felt like there were two conversations that were happening. There were other conversations that were happening sort of outside the main conversation, which was sort of like a woman was having a conversation with her friends about an encounter that she had and things that she couldn't remember. And then conversations outside the room that were happening to try to flesh out the understanding of perhaps what happened with that event, and the people involved, and people talking about the event. This is also me trying not to spoil things, but also trying to like let people know, yeah, I saw the film, you know? So, it's really hard to talk about this film and not spoil anything. And having conversations. There's one guy who is like a playwright. He's working on writing something. But you know, you have wealthy family members, wealthy people who come in here. I love the names, by the way. They felt very like somebody came up with some really good names of people, like River DuPont just feels like somebody that's like, oh yeah, yeah, that dude is definitely, you know, he definitely rolls in a Rolls Royce, you know, he's rolling up. He just feels like the type of person that you're like, when you hear somebody with that name, you're like, yeah, that's probably somebody who has $1 million in the bank, easy, you know, probably in just on disposal. Just that's his like safety net. This is $1 million. He's got way more, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, I like the names here of characters. I wasn't crazy about the performances, which is one of the reasons why it's like, yes, I'm an independent film, because I'm not going to say all of them, but I thought the women did better than the men, if that helps. But at the same time, and tonally, see, I'm thinking about like how things are matched up here too. So oftentimes the score lets us know, like, what are we looking for tonally here? And tonally, the score is rather light. It's, if not quirky, it's sparsely used. It's very, it feels like I've heard it before. It feels like it's not a score that is necessarily going to be remembered, but it's certainly, I would not say, feels dark in any way, like tonality wise. It's not bringing any sort of seriousness to anything. It definitely highlights more of a lighter tone to the film. So the fact that the actresses are playing what I would consider to be a more serious subject matter, rather light, is sort of supported by the fact that the score is supporting that behavior. So it becomes really hard for me to criticize their acting choices when I feel like the film is asking them to not take this too seriously. But then again, on the other end, with the guys, I just wasn't feeling any of them. The playwright especially, I felt like this is his first acting gig. He just didn't do anything for me as a person, like as an actor. Yeah, I don't know. He had a lot of dialogue, and just to be honest, he just didn't work for me as an actor in this film. I was trying to accept the fact that the film was trying to play it a little bit lighter and a little bit quirkier, and there was nothing really about him that stood out to me in any way, either positive or negative, or, you know, like, how are you affecting this film? We kept going back to him, and I was like, I wish he wasn't here. You know, I don't know. I felt like the film conceptually was interesting. Like, there's a premise and there's a question here that's being asked that I thought was interesting, and I wanted the execution, but I don't think that I got the execution that I wanted from it. Even if I take away all of the expectations of, you know, things that come with larger budgets, like the sound quality here is not great. It's sort of echoey. Everything, it sounds a little bit like some friends went out with a camera and made a movie. To be totally honest, it doesn't have that quite level of perfection on the sound end. So, and that varies, because it just depends on what kind of equipment you're using and who you have working with you, because I've had other screeners pass to me where the sound is not necessarily the problem. So here, that's sort of a unique problem. However, I've also seen films where the sound isn't the problem, but the actors are much worse. So take that for what you will. It is what it is. You get sort of when you're independent, you have a limited budget, you focus on what you can focus on, and you make what you can make. And I think that's what they did here. And I just kind of questioned the tonality of it. I had a hard time. There are questions that were being asked. I'm still dancing around this. There are questions that are being asked by, especially like the lead female, and she does not seem bothered in a way that, but it doesn't feel like the film is asking her to be, but it seems like something that I would be bothered by, or that anybody else would be bothered by, or would be more panicked or worried about. But she seems rather chill, you know? And that kind of threw me off guard. For a while there, I thought the film was going to go in a very different direction because of that. I thought the film was playing in a almost an oddly, at the beginning, I was reading the film almost like, are we going to do like a humorous take? I was like, are we going to do like The Menu here? Is that where we're headed? That's where I thought we were headed, in sort of like more of a satirical direction, but we don't really go there fully. It just kind of ends up being a lighthearted look at something that probably we shouldn't have a lighthearted look at, a little bit lighter take on it. I don't know, maybe we don't have, sometimes there are reasons why we don't have light takes on things, because sometimes the subject matter is, it's heavy. Promising Young Woman is about as light as you can get, you know, and still feel like, okay, well, we're tackling a serious subject matter here in the best way possible. So I don't think this was necessarily the most effective way to land the film. Then again, I don't have audio description, so, but what does that really do for me in a film that is basically saying we're in one location? You know, this film basically takes place in this restaurant / bar / lounge thing. I don't know. It's like, it's so hard because it's like, obviously it's a small cast, right? So you're like, why don't you call it one thing? I'm like, because I don't really know what to call it, because there are very few people there. Restaurants are usually populated by like more people and like waiters, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like bustling. This doesn't really have that. There's not a lot of like clanging. It's not like they have extras in the background that are like eating at tables. Bars, you usually have like the bartender character, you know, I mean, like, they're so usually like waitresses bringing you drinks. I don't really know. So conceptually, the audio description might have helped shape the location a little bit better, especially considering we spend so much time in this location. It's very like limited locations. We don't hop around the city that much. Although we did go outside, and I was like, wow, we definitely got, we got cityscape sounds here. It definitely sounded like somebody took a microphone and went outside and recorded ambient city traffic. But yeah, so I would love for this film to have audio description, just because I would love for every film to have audio description, because I think it's important to have accessibility. I don't know that this film does. I don't know that this film is on a level at which people are going to be concerned about putting audio description on it. I noticed just from clicking on the director's profile, you know, directly referencing like where their films have been. A lot of their stuff goes to Tubi. Tubi stuff traditionally doesn't have audio description. I've been asked directly by people to review their Tubi films, and like, your films don't have audio description. I don't fully know what I'm going to be able to do for you. Because at the end of the day, I have to tell a blind and visually impaired community that I would not recommend this film, because there's a lot that's missing. To a sighted community, I don't know that I would still recommend this film, because I don't know. You have to know you. And I think the question being posed is a serious one, and you have to be comfortable with the level at which the people seem to be reacting to it, which I was not quite on board with. I kind of wanted them to take it a little bit more seriously than they were. But given the fact that the film seems to intentionally be embracing that tonality, I'm not going to fault the actresses for that, because it feels like the film is scored in such a way that that is what it's supposed to be. So I just kind of question the original intent behind why go light here. Is it because the gap felt like an empty gap? I don't know. I just, like, I know people, I have friends who have been in this situation before, and they definitely didn't react this way. So I think that's the other thing too, is that just as humans, we have people who have been in similar situations, and this is not the way that they react. They're not this calm. They're not this, like, chill about things. So that has not been my experience whenever I have had, in the luckily very few times that I've ever had somebody who has shared these experiences with me that they have sadly been a part of. It's never been something that they take lightly. So I don't know. I don't know who this works for. I don't know who this is made for. I know that Promising Young Woman rubbed people the wrong way. And when you have a film like that, that still is taking it sort of seriously, I don't think that you, at the end of the day, when you see that, you know what I'm saying? If that is considered to be too light, I don't know where this lands. So I would not feel comfortable saying to watch this. I'm open to, of course, re-reviewing it if it turns out that this is one of those situations where, yeah, there's an audio description track. Don't know why it wasn't passed along to you, because that's happened to me before. But I just don't think that that's really going to change, because I don't think that audio description is going to change the tonality. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, maybe it will. Maybe it'll give me a different perspective. Maybe there are things that I'm missing, visual cues or something. I don't know. But I'm open to it. But I think probably at the end of the day, it's still not going to be a recommend for me. Oddly enough, not for any of the reasons that you might think when approaching like an indie film. And, you know, it ends up being not because of acting or because of, not having the right kind of crew or equipment or anything like that. It's just from the concept stage, the direction to go light just never really worked for me. And I kept waiting for it to try to have like a hook, to try to pull me in and be like, that's what I kept thinking. I was like, well, this has got to be like The Menu, where we're going to have, somebody's going to get their comeuppance in some sort of like weirdly, oddly bizarre way. And if there's like a visual image that I'm missing where that happens, great, let's do that. And they just never talk about it. Like sometimes things aren't vocalized and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm willing to do audio description again, because there could be something like that, Maybe there's some giant man standing in the background just staring at everybody the whole time. I don't know. And he just never has a line of dialogue and nobody ever acknowledges him, but he's just like a looming presence the whole time. Who knows? I don't, because I can't see the film. But the reality is that there are a lot of people out there who can't see films either, or need audio description and accessibility to watch the films. So, yeah, this is all a life lesson. And so to Alyssa, I wish you the best. You seem to be doing pretty well for yourself. I think your first film had like Elizabeth Moss in it. So I think you're probably doing fine. This is probably going to end up on Tubi, like the other films that seem to be on your thing, at least in your resume. So I think at the end of the day, yeah, Tubi fans will find it and click on it and check it out and decide for themselves whether or not it's for them. But, you know, Promising Young Woman ultimately defied the odds and had more people who saw it for what it was and liked it, and it ended up getting Oscar nominations, and it was tonally shifting in a direction that was unique for what the subject matter was. And perhaps I'm in the minority here. I'm just aware that there was a minority for Promising Young Woman. I just think the minority is going to be a little bit larger here, because I think this doesn't even come quite to Promising Young Woman's level of handling an issue like this, a subject matter. So, man, I've danced around this. So, I've referenced things. I have tried really hard not to spoil this for anybody, and because it is pre-release, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody. So, if you have the chance to check out The Arrival, you can make up your own mind. I'm not giving it a grade. It doesn't have audio description, and with a film like this, I'm not really sure what the budget was. I'm not really sure that there's a distributor that has picked up this film that is necessarily going to front for audio description. So I don't know what the status is here. But, and again, I've been in a situation before where just simply the PR team didn't pass me the audio description when there was audio description. So who knows? I'm going to continue to just not grade some of these like really independent films that I keep getting past. But yeah, there's enough reason to say, specifically to the blind and visually impaired people that watch this, I wouldn't go in on this. It's not something that's going to be easily watchable for a blind and visually impaired community. Not the worst thing, because it is pretty dialogue heavy, but also it's not like Skinamarink. But yeah, it's I just I wouldn't. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see if Alyssa checks out this review. I've had other directors reach out to me and give me their thoughts on the lack of audio description, so we'll see what happens. But thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.